All right, if it's possible, I'd like you to stand with your back to a wall and let's just see what neutral spine is as we get started. So if you can find a wall space, you can just bring your heels to the wall, your hips to the wall, shoulders and the back of your head. And bring one of your hands to your belly. So notice that engagement, that core set, navel to spine, and then that lift. Engage in the front, and then slide your hand behind you and just test out the curve of your spine. Just feel with your hands. And you can move around a little bit. You can kind of press your back to the wall and move around and see if you can feel what seems like neutral for you. Bring your hand up to the back of your neck and find that inward curve as well. So whatever you have here, notice that your chin is a little bit tucked. I want you to keep that with you and then just step away from the wall an inch or two and maintain that neutrality. You can keep a hand on the belly and a hand on the back. And keep that as you bend and straighten your knees a couple of times. Can you keep that neutral spine even when you're starting to move other joints? How about bending your knees and just tilting forward and back with the pelvis without changing the curves of the spine? And notice if you come to a point of pain or tension, and if you do, chances are you're moving in the spine versus moving at the hip joint. And see if you can do a little bit less spine movement and a little more movement at the hip. So for some of us, especially if you're feeling pain right now, the movement might be a half an inch forward and back. And that's great. That's just really learning how to move in your body from the hips without coming out of the neutral spine. Okay, beautiful. So let's go ahead and come to standing on our mats. And if you have blocks, I'd like you to use your blocks today. I'm going to be using 2 blocks. 1 is fine, 2's better. If you don't have 2 blocks, maybe a chair in front of you will be helpful. So just something that you can put your fingertips on as we move into things like forward folds. So let's find mountain pose and imagine that you're still standing against the wall. Imagine your heels, your hips, your shoulders, and your head against a wall. Palms spin forward. And yeah, if you want to use your hands to kind of feel those curves again, you're welcome to if that seems helpful. And then find your feet. Find foundation, the ground beneath you, and make that a little more intentional. So push down through your feet like you're trying to make bigger footprints on the earth or deeper footprints on the earth. And then with that rooting down, lift through the crown of your head. Find a line of energy. Lift your pelvic floor, Mula Bandha, and hug your shoulders a little bit more onto your back so you feel some muscle control in the back body supporting you. Draw your navel toward your spine and then lift your abdominals like there's a zipper in front of you just zipping up. And just picture in your mind your beautiful, healthy spine with its 4 curves inside of your body, your center. These lines of energy helping us to lift any pressure that's weighting down on our discs. Keep your spine where it is and just roll your shoulders up by your ears, back and down. So the spine stays neutral, the arm bone and the scapula moving in a circle. Just staying in this solid, steady, centered place. And then pausing here, let your palms turn out. Inhale, arms overhead. Again, keeping neutrality in the spine. Hands meet, cross through heart center. And let's do that a few times. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Spine hasn't changed at all. Now let's begin to add that tiny bend in the knees. So the spine isn't really moving. There's just a little bend in the knees at the bottom of the range of motion. And if you've showed up today and you are in a lot of pain, this might be your flow for today, just continuing to lift and lower. If even this is painful, do this sitting in a chair. Let's go one more time, hands to heart, soft bend in the knees, and then go ahead and bring your hands to the crease of the hips and play again with that idea of pelvic tilt that doesn't come into spine. So you'll, under your fingers, you feel your hip flexors. It's like you're just pouring out a bowl of water, just the smallest movement. If this creates pain in your back, do a little less movement. Make it smaller. If you're getting the green light here, we're going to go ahead and come forward more. So put a deeper bend in the knees and come forward to place your hands on your knees. And just lengthen through the crown of the head. Come into this supported chair pose. Abs engaged, core set. And now the line of energy is reaching out through the tailbone and the crown of the head. You've got a diagonal line of energy here. Beautiful, everybody. From this supported chair position, if you have a chair or blocks in front of you, bend your knees a little more and bring fingertips to the blocks so that you can drop one knee to the earth and then the other. Take your knees out a little bit wider, keep your hands on your blocks, and just reach your tailbone back. If you come to a point where you feel like you're rounding your spine, stop. Just stop there a little bit more like a puppy pose. And let's move with breath, shifting forward and rocking back. You want to minimize the rounding of the spine. In fact, it's the rounding of the spine that probably got us into trouble in the first place. All of our sitting, Netflix in bed. So just testing the waters here and see how this feels. And if you're comfortable, go ahead and come back into child's pose. It might feel better to stay lifted up into more of a tabletop position. If you're getting the green light, try maybe lower blocks, allowing you to drop a little lower. And you can just keep exploring, finding that place where your body says, that's the place where I want to stay. And we might all find a little different stopping point here for child's pose. Coming back to a tabletop position, stack your knees under your hips, and we are going to keep our hands on these blocks on their shortest side so they're stable, but our shoulders are a little higher than our hips, if that's possible for you. From here, engage your core, shift your weight into your right knee, and just touch your left toes behind you. Try not to shift too much through the hips, and then switch. Drop your left knee, extend your right. Again, we're just really doing our best to keep that spine neutral and stable right down the middle of the body. We're starting to build strength around the spine with our core, our hips, and our shoulders. Take your right toes back, find the center, and then if it feels available to you, reach your left arm to the wall in front of you. Hug the abs in, support your spine, and breathe. If you're feeling extra healthy and strong today, you could lift that knee, but just notice if that creates strain for your spine. And if it does, drop the toe. And let's switch sides. Right knee on the earth, left toes back, the pelvis stays level. You could stay here, press into your hands, engage your core, or reach an arm, maybe a leg. You can decide what feels best to your body. Breathe here. And then let's release back to a tabletop position. Option to stay right here and move between neutral and cow. Neutral and cow. We're going to leave cat out today. I'm going to work from neutral to cow. So that's option one. Option two, if you're getting the green light, is to lose your blocks, tuck your toes, and lift into downward facing dog. Again, if that creates pain or stress anywhere in your spine, stay on your knees and work at neutral and cow. Good. Awesome, you guys. I'm seeing some of both. Really beautiful. If you are in downward facing dog, let's go ahead and meet back on our knees. Blocks come back under our hands. And I'm going to move the blocks now to their high side so that I'm lifted a little. I'm going to swing the right foot forward so that now I'm in a kneeling lunge. My hands are inside my right foot. Really nice weight, a little crutch to help us get up. We're going to tuck our back toes under, slowly lift. Try to keep that nice long spine. Good. Really nice, everybody. And then bring the block to the outside of the foot, soften the back knee, and just slowly bring the back foot to meet the front foot. Lift halfway, find your flat back. Bring your hands to your shins, lift and lengthen, one tall spine. Beautiful, you guys. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, back to center. Do that a couple times. Find the feet underneath you. Lift the pelvic floor and come back to that neutral spine. Gorgeous. Bring your hands to your hips. Put the bend in your knees. Shift forward. Use your core to help you here as you bring hands to the blocks. And then we're going to drop the knees again to the earth. This time, come to stand on your shins and bring your hands into your back pockets. So for spine health, our goal is neutral and slight extension, really limiting forward flexion. So this is a great place to stay right here. Shoulders open, chest open, spine neutral. If you're getting the green light here, go ahead and lean back into your hands a bit. Test the water, see what's here for you. If you're really feeling great, you're welcome to take full camel. I would not advise that if you're experiencing pain in your back right now. Breathe here. Feel the opening, the length, line of energy down through the knees, up through the sternum. And then release back to center. Shift so that you can place your hands on the blocks. And let's bring them again to, their high side. And now we'll draw the left foot forward. Bring the left foot forward into a lunge. Finding that hip flexor stretch here with the spine tall. And then take the block to the outside of the foot, tuck the back toes, lift into a low lunge so you really feel length in the spine. And then softening that knee, take a slow step forward, hands come to thighs, lift to your flat back. Beautiful, you guys. Hands to hips, lift to mountain pose. Roll your shoulders. Check in with the spine. Let's inhale, arms up, and exhale through heart center. So now we're going to move through a really slow and thoughtful sun salutation to give you an idea of how you can modify when your back is not super happy. So blocks are handy. Let's inhale the arms up. Exhale, hinging from the hips, soft knees come to your flat back. Find your blocks. And then stepping back with one foot, drop your knee. Step back with the other foot, child's pose. Hands are elevated. Inhale, lift and lengthen, and take your blocks to their lowest side, keeping your spine neutral. Shift forward, and you can either stay here or you can lower down into just a yogi push-up and come back to child's pose or towards child's pose. And then shifting forward, bring your blocks again to their high side. Step the right foot forward. Tucking the back toes, find the long spine. Step to the front of your mat and come to half lift. Hands at the hips, neutral spine. Arms reach high. Hands to heart center. Good, let's do that again. Reach tall, open up through the chest. Exhale, hinge from the hips, come to a flat back. This time step your left foot back, drop the knee to the mat. Lower your blocks and come back to child's pose. And remember, maybe halfway or maybe all the way. It's up to you. Shifting our bodies forward. You can stay in kneeling plank or you can take a yogi push-up. Just keep your spine neutral. And exhale back. I'm coming to the top of the mat with the left foot this time. Let's turn our blocks on their high side. Tuck the toes. Step forward, find flat back. Hands to shins. Hands to hips, rise up. Arms overhead. Extended mountain. Beautiful. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's do arms with breath, and then if it feels okay to you, sink into chair. If not, it's just an easy little knee bend, like we practiced earlier. Notice if your body has built any heat and how your spine feels just happily existing inside of your body with no strain, no stress. One more time, lift high, keep your legs straight, your body tall, hands come back to heart center. Let's turn to the wide edge of our mat and let's take our feet out wide, about 4 feet apart-ish. And we're going to turn the right toes. And so as you pick up, I want you to feel this happening from your hip joint. So you might just pick up your toes and turn those toes out. You might scoot your left foot out so that you feel like you can start to put a bend in the right knee coming into warrior two. Imagine standing against the wall again with your hips, your shoulders, and the back of your head so the spine doesn't change at all. And let's come down into warrior two, arms open. And just notice if you feel any tension anywhere in your spine. Sometimes we tend to lean forward or back, we tuck under or round. Can you find neutral spine in warrior two? Dropping the left arm to the back leg. Let's turn the right palm and then just lift the fingers to the sky. We still have a neutral spine. Imagine that there's a golden chain above you, and I want you to grab a hold of it and pull up so you've got that line of energy. And now just slightly lean your body to the left. The arm stays straight up. The spine curves ever so slightly to the left. Doesn't take much. Notice if there's any pinch anywhere up and down your spine. And if there is, back out just a little bit. Keep length. Really nice, folks. Come back to Warrior Two, neutral spine. And now bring your hands to the creases of your hips. We're going to start to shift from the hips. We're moving over into side angle, and I want you to just really pay attention to moving from the hips, not the spine. Okay? So shifting the hips until you can just find a place for elbow to rest on thigh. If that doesn't feel great, grab your block and rest an elbow on a block so you can stay up a little bit higher. Really nice option. Left arm comes up toward the ceiling, straight up. And if you're getting a green light, you can reach your arm up over your ear, creating a nice line of energy. Use those extended fingers to pull up and away so you feel that sense of length and traction in your spine. And breathe here. Supported, stable, strong spine. And then just slowly lower that arm, hand to hip. Bring yourself up and then let this block come with you around toward the other side so it's there when you need it. And we'll do Warrior Two on the left. Let's move in and out of the left leg first. And coming down into Warrior Two. Find your neutral spine. If you can see yourself in the camera sideways, notice if you're doing a little bit of leaning into the future. You know, planning, worrying, anxious, stress, got to get it done stuff. And come back here. Come back to this neutral place. Perfect. Drop the back arm, lightly resting on the leg. And then your left arm comes straight up to grab that golden cord. Pull yourself up with that hand as the spine slightly bends to the right. Keep reaching up with your fingers. So we don't want to add the weight of that arm. We want to use that arm for the line of energy. Breathe here. Good. Let's come to side angle. So you could rest a hand on the knee. You could grab that block to give your elbow something to rest on, or come all the way to your elbow. Right finger straight up. Grab that line of energy, pull the spine long. And if you're getting a green light, extended side angle, make that diagonal line. Deep breaths here, friends. Fingertips up, come back to your hip. Press up, turn to center, and you can put the block right here in front of you. All 10 toes facing the side of the mat. Let's bring the hands to the hips and start to shift forward. So take your long spine with you, find your support as soon as you can. And then either, kind of check in with your spine, either stay here or lower down into a long spine forward fold. So see if you can keep your spine really long, not rounded. An option I love is to walk the hands way out in front. So it's like a very wide downward facing dog. And if you plant your hands into the mat, dig your fingertips into the mat, and then pull your hips back away from your fingers, you're going to feel another really nice line of energy. Traction for the spine. Breathe here. And then let your fingertips come back so that your spine is flat, narrow, Flat back. Bend your right knee and begin to turn your body toward the top of your mat. You can bring your blocks with you. Let's drop the back knee onto the mat. So you should have your right foot forward and your left leg back. For some of us, if your back is inflamed, being upright might feel better than leaning forward. So you can kind of check in with your lower back on that. Let's be here for a few breaths. Tight hip flexors, iliopsoas, are a major contributor to back pain. So we want to give these guys some space and length. Remember to brace your torso and lift up and out. I always think of the spine like a plant that you're just kind of pulling up out of a pot. You're using your abs to grab the spine and lift it. And then shift. Knees come under you. Bring the other foot forward. And again, let's go a little deeper into those hip flexors. You might start upright and just see what the lower back is asking for. This could be plenty. I was in physical therapy for a back injury. I think we spent 6 months working in neutral before he would allow me to move into any kind of extension. So this was my practice for about 6 months, straight up and down. Patience. Just breathe here. Allow your hip flexors to open, to lengthen, to breathe. And then we'll release this. We're going to come to a tabletop position. So option to be on the short side of the blocks, that keeps you up a little higher. That might help you to have a neutral spine. If you prefer to be flat on the ground, that's fine too. So draw the navel in. Let's do core set. Navel in, spine long. We're going to press the ground away from us so it feels like your shoulder blades are opening. And I'd like you to pick your right hand up just 1 inch off the mat. And see if you can tell what happens in your core when you just shift from 4 points to 3. And then switch 1 inch, left hand. See if you can tell your core has to work a little harder. And then replace that. Pick up your right knee 1 inch. You might even reach down and feel the low belly, how hard it's working. And switch, keep your sacrum level. And now we'll put that together, combo. So right knee, left hand, 1 inch. Navel to spine. And switch, right hand, left knee. So this was about I think a 3-month assignment that I had to do these all day, every day, learning to brace my core and protect my spine. One more time on each side, friends. And then release. Super slow motion, lower down to your belly. And if you showed up today with really inflamed lower back, this might even be too much, laying on your belly. If that describes you, go ahead and just turn around and lay on your back with your knees bent and just wait while we do this one. So we're going to bring our hands by our shoulders. And you probably know where we're headed, but pretend you don't. So instead of cobra, what I'd like you to do is just lift your head 2 or 3 inches off the mat. Just lift so that the muscles in your back have to hold this 10-pound bowling ball, barely hovering off the mat. Super light in your hands. Elbows hug back, shoulders pull down. And then just try another inch or 2. And see if you can come to a place where there's no single point in your back where you feel pain. It's just all the muscles all the way down are working. Notice your breath, belly pushing into floor. Exaggerate that breath. Really breathe in so you feel your belly push down. Breathe out. Strength up and down the spine. Take one more deep breath here, strengthening the back. And then as you lower, make a pillow out of your hands. Choose a cheek to rest on your hands and just rock your hips from side to side. Just wiggle it out. And rest here for a moment. And bring your hands to your shoulders. Now, as we get ready to come up, I'd like you to use your upper body, but also suck your navel up off the floor. Just like how hard can you pull your navel up off the floor to help you return to a tabletop? And then we're just going to come over to one hip and around to a seat. And we're going to use our legs to help us come down onto our backs. And let's just come here to this neutral spine once again. Imagine that wall behind you so you feel your hips on the floor. Slide your hands so you feel that curve under your low back. Your thoracic spine is on the floor, but there's a curve behind your neck. We're just going to be right here and see if you can feel a neutral spine. Engage your abdominals to support neutral spine. Notice maybe a habit of pressing the lower back to the ground and see if you can not do that for today. Try to keep a lumbar curve. So we're really braced in the core, super strong here. This might be a great place for you to stay and just work on core support. But if you'd like a little more work today, you can march. Just pick up one foot and then the other, trying to maintain your neutral curves. So there's a lot of work happening in the core, from chin to pelvic floor, all engaged. You might even put one hand on the belly, one hand on the low back, and notice that staying intact as you march. And then both feet on the mat. Open your arms out into a T. Stretch your arms out wide. And then wiggle your feet out till your pinky toes feel the edges of your mat. And then let's do windshield wipers, but I'd like you to start super small. So just drop the right knee in slightly. Stop if you feel any pain in your back. And if that feels okay, then go ahead and also drop the left knee to the left. And then come back to center and do the opposite. Left knee comes in, right knee goes out. And just see what kind of range of motion you have that doesn't affect your spine. Just movement at the hip. Notice the tendency to push that knee down and how that causes something to happen up in the spine. Let the knees drop to the left and turn your head to the right. So they're probably not dropped as far as you would like. You're keeping your sacrum on the floor, keeping your spine neutral. You're breathing. And then come back to center and switch. Drop knees toward the right. Turn your head to the left. And then come back to center. Your feet are going to stay wide and your knees are going to teepee in on one another. Just let your feet be wide, your knees come in. Bring either both hands to your belly or one hand up to the heart and the other on the belly. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths here. Imagining your spine resting in your body. If this is uncomfortable, if there's any pain, please feel free to adjust your body or find a prop that would support you better. Breath in and breath out. And imagine each breath in brings healing oxygen to every single disc between each vertebra. As you're breathing here, feel your tailbone, very tip, the very base of your spine. See if you can bring breath all the way down into the tailbone. Just imagine a breath spilling all the way down. And as we think about the spine and we think about our back, the back of our body represents our past, what's behind us. And trusting that your body speaks your mind. You might come into communion, mind and body, in a way that shows you're ready to listen now to the wisdom of your body that wants to tell its story. The tailbone, root chakra, safety, stability, home, finances, a sense of belonging. A sense of roots growing into the earth. Sacrum and SI joint are the second chakra, sacral chakra. Issues here of intimacy, of individuality, of a sense of self and creativity. The lumbar spine and the bottom of the thoracic, solar plexus, our power, our inner power, our inner strength, our independence. Our stand. And thoracic spine, our heart chakra. So as we look at the back of the heart and the spine in this area, we see things like regret, past hurts, forgiveness, the neck, the back of the neck, the cervical spine, the voice, and looking into the past, what didn't get said. Or maybe what did get said that's still stuck here. Bringing your attention to the back of your head, the third eye, intuition. When we look back with this intuition, hindsight is 2020. We can see clearly the reality of what was behind us. We can trust our intuition in this moment. And then just picturing the crown of your head, that 1,000-petaled lotus, that place of connection. To all that is. And as you breathe here, let your breath be like expanding the petals of that lotus. Not only extending your energy out, but drawing energy in to heal. Whatever you need here, draw that in. Take another deep breath in with a soft open mouth exhale. And begin to, so there are a couple of ways up. One is to roll onto one side. If that feels painful, you could tuck your chin to your chest and use your arms to pull you up. Use your arms either pushing on the floor or pulling on your legs to bring you to a seat. But find an easeful way to return to a seat and maybe put your hips on a cushion, a block, or chair. And let's bring our hands together in front of our heart. In this gesture of gratitude for this structure inside of us, this spine that tells our story just like our hands, spine that supports us, that gives us the ability to be upright. It also speaks to us when maybe we haven't been listening. It yells sometimes. Let's agree to listen better to this beautiful part of us inside. Thank you all for your practice today. Namaste.